Hi everyone, once again, welcome. It's time to get started. I am so excited to have everyone here on time, and thank you all for joining the call. Of course, while waiting for others, we'll definitely begin as others join us as we proceed. The session has been recorded for documentation purposes. For those who may miss the live event, can watch the recording later. Or those who have network issues can, of course, reference the recording later on the Codementor YouTube channel. So today we would be discussing about how to automate smart contract documentation using AI. My name is Onyekwere. I am a blockchain solutions architect and a developer relations manager at Bunzz. And this is a very exciting topic for me because heavily as a solutions architect, there's a whole lot of documentation being done to analyze smart contracts. And AI has really been helpful to simplify that. And so I am excited to share about my discovery and how anyone who is either a developer, a Web3 researcher, an analyst, anyone at all who uses smart contracts to understand how they too can simplify documenting of smart contracts using artificial intelligence. So we intend to run this for 30 minutes or less, of course, taking questions from you if you have any questions. And we would cover four parts in our conversation. Any questions you have, of course, you can drop it on the Q&A section or on the chat. I will always, um, in intervals, reach out on the chat to see any questions that I can answer and, of course, interact with that. The first, we'll be talking about the importance of smart contracts and the challenges of documenting smart contracts in the industry today and how AI simplifies that. And we'll have a hands on tools and a tool that can help us simplify, analyze, and do a whole lot more with smart contracts using artificial intelligence and solving the problem, the challenges that we'll discover in the section two of this. So the first is what is importance of smart contracts. So I'm assuming that all of us on the call have heard about smart contracts, either because we are developers or because we are either product managers or marketers, anyone at all in the Web3 space who really is dealing with blockchain would definitely have heard about smart contracts. Why are smart contracts important? Well, before we answer that question, just a very quick overview of what smart contracts actually are. So, smart contracts are self executing code that executes when a certain condition is met. So, they are self executing contracts that has been programmed to execute once a condition is being met. And there are so many use cases. There are so many reasons why smart contracts are very, very important and why they are at the core of any blockchain application. Well, the first is that with smart contracts, you can be able to achieve things like tokenization. So, tokenization is a term in the blockchain Web3 space used to make physical assets like real estate, commodities, arts to be divisible and tradable. So we have properties that are being tokenized. We have communities being tokenized. That's why we have NFTs coming into the picture and ERC, Ethereum standards like ERC 72221 and so many others. So with smart contract, it's easier for tokenization to happen. The smart contracts power largely tokenization, to tokenize acts, tokenize real estate through NFTs, or even right nowadays we have so many kind of tokens like fractional NFTs, NFTs, and also SBTs, and so many other tokens. Without smart contract, it would be difficult to achieve things like that. Now, the second reason why smart contracts are so important is that they also um, help in payments. So we have so many Web2 use cases of payments that are quite tricky. There's no trust. So there's so many issues with payment. The smart contract can automatically release a payment once certain conditions are met. Conditions such as successful delivery of service, it could be payroll, employers pay employees at the end of the month after service done. It could be insurance after certain condition is met. It could be um, freelancing services when the service is being read on freelancer or whatever platform. So these are different cases where payments can smart contracts aid and power payments without the need for intermediaries. So once the condition is met, the payment is sent through cryptocurrency or other channels as well to simplify that. So without smart contracts, it could be difficult to really achieve centralized payments in the blockchain space. The second reasons or the second application of smart contract is in voting systems. So if you have heard about things called DAOs, so there are DAOs called decentralized autonomous organizations, where governance and administrations is being implemented in the blockchain space voting systems. So with smart contracts, you can build or you can power voting systems that are secure, transparent, tamper-proof for both public elections or corporate governance in organizations, even in government, and even in legal systems as well for certain voting rights. So without smart contracts, it would be difficult to really build voting systems that are transparent and decentralized, and of course, tamper-proof. So smart contracts are very essential in those cases as well. The fourth case or use case for smart contracts is in medical records. So there's been quite not really little, but there's been a progressive approach to how the blockchain space is improving healthcare sector. And we have telemedicine and of course medical records. So with smart contracts, you can secure and make storage of medical records immutable with controlled access. So there are cases where confidential medical records are being leaked and being accessed by those with unauthorized privileges. So with smart contracts and of course on the blockchain, it can be easier to secure and make these medical records immutable. They cannot be accessed without proper control and of course being secure as well. And then we have telemedicine, which alongside the medical records provide automatic processing and billing for telehealth services. So with smart contracts, it's very easy to really implement these use cases in the healthcare sector or the medical sector using smart contracts and of course using the blockchain. The last on the list, there's so many, but I just had to like talk about six or five of them, is research grants. So we can use smart contracts for academic purposes. And one of the academic purposes of smart contracts is research, academia, right? So there are automatic disbursement of grant money. So there are cases where professors or researchers bid for money to grant their research work, and when the money is given to them, there is little or no accountability of how the money is spent. And so the money just goes like that. There are even scams happening in the academia part of research. So with smart contract, we could easily manage the person requesting for the grant and the actual research work to be done. And so automatic disbursement of money is being given based on achieved milestones. So the professor or whoever is in the researcher could give 4 milestones, and the smart contracts could automatically be disbursing the money or the cryptocurrency, the money in itself into 4 different milestones as soon as the researcher provides evidence of the research work being done. And of course, we have credential verification, certification, and so many other use cases. So all these are very important use cases where the smart contracts are being used. So it's very important because without smart contracts, a lot of the use cases in the blockchain space will not be possible because smart contracts power a whole lot of applications on the blockchain of the applications called dApp. So it's very important that everyone who deals with smart contracts needs to understand how to document smart contracts. Because if we do not document smart contracts properly, all the use cases being listed may be faulty. And so, what are the challenges of smart contract documentation? There are quite a whole lot of challenges because developers are building the applications. We have project managers managing the whole project. We have product managers and so many people in different areas of the development phase. But documentation can be a problem. Why? Well, we'll take a look at different reasons why smart contract documentation is challenging and why we need AI and how AI can fix it. The first is complexity and technical jargons. The blockchain space is evolving every single time. There are new innovations and there are new ideas how to improve on it. And sometimes it can be really complex to understand how smart contracts work, especially building real complex solutions. So sometimes either the product manager, either the engineering manager, or even developers themselves somehow can find it challenging to document smart contracts properly for external use cases. And even those who are not actually technical developers, so we have executive managers, CEOs, CMOs, and others in the C-level positions who want to understand what the smart contract is doing in the application or entirely helping the entire businesses. And it can be difficult to explain the technical jargons or complexity because it can be quite challenging to do that. So because of this, it is difficult and time consuming to really document smart contracts for non-technical consumptions. The other is keeping documentation up to date. So as we know, once you deploy a smart contract to any EVM based chain, not EVM based chain, any chain at all, as long as they're smart contracts, you cannot change them. Once you've deployed them, you can change them. If you want to change something in your application, you have to deploy another smart contract. And so if you keep deploying new smart contracts, it means that you have to keep updating documentation linked to the application to reflect on each of the smart contracts that you have deployed. And so it can be difficult to keep documentation up to date because of new changes, new requirements, and new business goals that can affect development and change in smart contracts. And even the blockchains themselves could have massive change. For example, we knew earlier that Ethereum moved from proof of work to proof of stake. And so there was a whole lot of change in the development space. And we also have Polygon moving to fully to ZK rollups, and that also has some effects as well. And so up to date of keeping documentation can be a challenge when done manually. And so developers, engineering managers, and development team in general can find it difficult to manage this kind of update. And that makes it challenging to document smart contracts. The third challenge is risk of understanding and financial loss. There has been so many. That was last time that happened. There was a hack that happened on one of the popular protocols. I think about 21 was 20 either 443 or $21 million was in smart contract assets were stolen because of an error in the smart contract, a loophole in the smart contract. And so we've seen different hacks happen across smart contracts because there was misunderstanding, there was a loophole in documenting the smart contracts properly for developers to implement, understand. And so because of that, Unity missed out a few things, and that can be open to vulnerability and security risk, and hackers can take advantage of that. And so, because of this, it can be challenging to really, really take a huge look and calm look to discuss smart contract documentation and implement them to avoid the risk of understanding them properly, implementing, and of course, financial loss. And like you've seen earlier, so many hacks happening, money is being lost in assets and smart contracts. So it can be challenging to document it because of risk in understanding and financial loss as well. The last challenge that many face when documenting smart contract is failure, poor or misunderstood documentation, which is similar to the first reasons. So there could be times when a documentation needs to be presented to the C level for them to understand what this whole application does. And because of that, the technical team could misunderstand a few things and do contrary to what's expected because most times the product manager is the one who presents the product requirement document and guides the team to build. So if a product manager is not really familiar or has challenges with documenting smart contracts, it's going to affect the way developers will implement certain solutions. And so we've seen smart contract failure. Again, the security issues too can be raised, failure of smart contract because of poor emissions documentation from the product team. So all of these are challenges and problems that many face. I faced it as well, especially leading a team of developers to build certain application on the blockchain. And that is why AI coming in can really simplify and assist so many in documenting smart contracts properly and fix this challenges. So how can AI help to fix these issues in smart contract documentation? We've not seen, I mean, from the buzz of ChatGPT to GPT-4 and AI trying to really innovate around AI. We've seen different buzz around artificial intelligence. And so AI is very crucial to assist and reduce certain burdens. And one way AI does that is really helping in the blockchain space by simplifying smart contract documentation and, of course, reducing the challenges that we've just mentioned earlier. So, how does it do that? Well, there's so many reasons, many areas that AI could possibly help to fix these problems. And first is text summarization for simplifying documentation. So AI has different areas from NLP, natural language, to different vision and so many others. But in this case, NLP is really what is needed for AI and in smart contract documentation. So for text summarization, AI can generate concise summaries of extensive and complex smart contracts to make it easier to understand and can reduce technical jargons. And so it saves time, makes it quicker and easier to make decisions, and makes smart contracts more accessible for non-technical people, for C-level positions, for even end users who may not entirely be technical. And so if you really want to take the crypto space or the cryptocurrency application of blockchain to mainstream users, there's every need for us to reduce jargons, and AI can really help to do that. But for developers, it really can make it easier to summarize and make extensive, complex, smart contract documentation easy to understand and have quick overviews. We'll take a look at tools that do that as well towards the end of this conversation. And the second we have is smart sentiment analysis for identifying risk factors. So smart contracts could be open to risk and security, like we mentioned earlier. So many smart contracts losing so many assets, worth of millions of dollars because of loopholes. And so what AI can do in this regard is to analyze and bring out risk, alerts from the smart contract. So this can help to make informed decisions and can trigger alerts for high risk contracts, thereby adding an extra layer of security for developers and development team to really know how to work around that. And the third is chatbots, right? So we all know about ChatGPT, we know about chatbots also coming into space. But for chatbots in smart contracts documentation, what it really means is that developers, or even not really developers, researchers, product managers, anyone at all in the building phase of blockchain applications can query smart contract terms, functions, and potential risk instantly, how to implement. So what this does is to increase accessibility and reduce the need for legal consultations and enhance user experience. So you can quickly ask, the chatbot to explain certain items of the smart contract to me and how to use it. And so by that really helps everyone who is involved in building or using the already developed smart contract for the dApp to know how to use it better and reduce misunderstanding of smart contract. AI can, of course, translate in different languages. It can make illustration just to make sure that the end user understands, or developers or development team understand what the documentation is all about, and can enhance the development of the application. Another way AI can simplify smart contract documentation is a real-time translation of technical terms in layman. I think I mentioned this quite early on, because AI really has mastered human language in different languages. You could translate from English to Spanish, from Spanish to German, from German to Japanese, and so many other languages. So to really help end users or even development team to understand what the document is all about to proceed to build it, anyone can ask the AI to translate documentation to native language. They can help understand and break down illustrations. And you could ask AI to explain the smart contract to me like a 10-year-old, and it can explain it to you with illustrations. And that can really help everyone involved to understand the AI, sorry, they understand the smart contracts really well to implement them and reduce the risk of smart contract failure because of lack of understanding and misunderstanding the requirements of the smart contracts. So these are really solutions and use cases of AI to simplify how smart contract recognition can really work, because there are a whole lot of applications. The blockchain space is booming. We have people coming, different careers, from writers to researchers to engineers to product managers, to product marketers. And so everyone really would be working, understanding how smart contracts is being how it affects the entire product marketing, and helps everyone to really be in the same pace, of course, to really build and market solutions properly and build more concise blockchain applications through the development of real use case for smart contracts. And now we want to take a look at hands-on on tools that can help to automatically simplify smart contracts documentation, and that can help you to know what you can use in your use case, and of course introduce your teams if you're building in team managing teams, or you're solo freelancer, whatever. You can of course explore these tools in your own time. Before we proceed to this, if there are any questions, I'll be eager to answer because I'm taking tabs on the Q&As. Yeah, so we can proceed if no questions at the moment. All right, that's good. Any questions, please drop and we can take them. So I did a few research around artificial intelligence use cases or tools that really simplifies smart contract documentation. And the Cipher by Bunzz is one of the smart tools that exist. They launched some few months ago, and they are nearly 1,000 users and growing, and really helps researchers, non-developers, and everyone at all to build real use cases, understand smart contracts, and then have a bunch of GPT. So we'll take a look at the Cipher now, a hands-on on the Cipher, and what the Cipher can do. And then you can take any questions you have for the Cipher. The other tools I saw, but none of them do it better than the Cipher. They're quite some few that were basically just summarization of projects, but only the Cipher was the top tool for the past few months on product hunts and dev hunts. And so it was best to pick the Cipher, talk about the Cipher, how the Cipher can help simplify the documentation process. So this is the landing page for the Cipher, and that is bonds.dev/decipher. And let me paste that in the charts in case anyone wants to explore that later. Yeah. So bonds, yes, I placed that on the charts. Just hold on. So if you take a look at scrolling down, it automatically says that the Cipher contract with AI generated docs. Bonds the Cipher will analyze it and to create concise professional documentation. So you could also use it as a tool for freelancing opportunities, and it could be an AI, documentation expert or whatever, by really documenting smart contracts for organizations or for developers for a fee. Maybe that's like an idea you can use. But then take a look at so these are popular contracts that Cypher has generated. We have the Aave, Uniswap, and Chainlink, and some other popular contracts. The latest contracts that have been generated so far. And there's the Cypher Chrome extension for easy um, usage on any block explorer. And these are the supported explorer: Etherscan, BSC Scan, as Polygon Scan, the Celo Scan, Optimism, and Moonmiro, and so many others as well. So we'll take a look, we'll explore the Chrome extension, and then we'll also explore what we have here currently. So I have quickly opened the Polygon Scan. So there are quite a number of smart contracts that have been deployed on Polygon Scan. So before now, why we say that smart contracts can be difficult is, take an example. I want to build a blockchain application that has a bridge function. And before the cipher, I would simply go on Polygon Scan, what I'm doing right now, take a look at it, and search through the code to understand what this does. And this is the contract source code. Take a look at the source code, one line by line, comment by comment. It can be really difficult to do this and can be overwhelming quickly. But with the cipher, you can see I already have like the cipher icon come in here quickly just to help simplify that. So you can either use this, you can copy the URL or copy the current address, whichever works. So I prefer copying this. So I'll copy the contract address, and I'll go over to the Cypher landing page and I'll paste it, and I'll click on generate docs. So I have to identify where I got this from, and that is Polygon, the mainnet. And I'll confirm that, and it begins to generate the documentation. So depending on the request, it pretty much takes, yeah, it's almost done. So that took quite a few times. So we can see that what the Cypher has done as a tool is making all of this that is complex, technical jargons, and difficult. It could take days to understand this particular contract to make documentation out of it. So it's taking this and quickly did this in less than 2 minutes or 1 minute, depending on how fast it can be. What it gave us is overview of the contracts, what the contract is all about, the user of this contract, responsibility, conclusions, and links that connects to these smart contracts. How to use it, the goals of smart contracts, how to use it, the model parameters, the more technical, and then the functions for developers or product managers to guide developers how to build. So I want to build a clone or application that requires a bridge. So that bridging from USDT to two different from Polygon based stablecoin to Ethereum stablecoin. I have to like bridge them, and so I need an application that will do that, and so I can simply clone and document the smart contracts of an existing DApp and understand the functions and give to my development team, or copy the contracts and send out what I want to do. And that's the code also. So the Cypher API also gives the breakdown of the code that makes the smart contract possible, and of course explains all of those things here. So this is a very quick. So we normally, without AI or Decipher, it could take days to understand what all of these things does. It can be quite overwhelming. But because of AI and how Decipher is really structured, it is easier to understand what this does and how to use it. Now we have down here, Ask Decipher GPT. So this is where you can also ask questions to AI to understand other use cases of this particular smart contract, how to use it, what is the best use cases, how can I combine this contract with other contracts, and different questions. And of course, AI can help and simplify that. So because it's AI, some answers are not entirely correct, but there is 80%, 90% chance of accuracy, you can always use your human initiative to, of course, understand and adjust a few answers being given to you by the AI. Now, for developers, the most amazing feature of the cipher is that you can also edit the code provided by the AI document generator. So the cipher also generates the documentation and gives you the code, allows you to edit the code and reply back to any EVM-based chain to use it for your own application. So it simplifies documentation, simplifies development time. And so if any development team would usually or probably take 2 weeks to build a particular dApp, the Cypher documentation can reduce that time to a week or some days because of how fast and how it structures AI to be used to simplify all of the use cases through the Bunzz CLI. And of course, there are documentations to use it and quite a whole lot of things to be done here as well. So this is one of, and of course, there is another tool called Web3 Summary. I'll get that up right now. So yeah, so as another tool called Web3 Summary. But Web3 Summary basically decodes crypto projects. So unlike the Cypher that generates documentations for actual code and developers and researchers, Web3 Summary basically summarizes projects and crypto projects like you see for Katon. It could be Agora, it could be for tokenomics experts or whatever. As you can see there, this happen here as well. And this is being used for different cases as well, and that's just that. But for developers and actually documenting smart contracts for tokenomics researchers, with the researchers, definitely the Cipher is the best bet with AI to be used across different use cases. So this is the very demo on how AI can simplify the process and reduce time, and how everyone can really jump on the wagon of AI. The other tools coming up, but these are the two best to decipher being number one. And of course, for developers, there are more use cases coming up, like fraud detection, like you mentioned earlier, and so many other use cases that can simplify how anyone at all who understands smart contracts can analyze it better. I use AI to simplify documentation, usage, and development of entire blockchain application process. So thank you so much for joining this today. And any questions from what you've said so far, or contributions, or confusions, anything at all you want to contribute, and that'll be a best time to ask those questions. So I would definitely document quite some tools and drop it in the Q&A section of the landing page for Codementor. So when the recording is live, you can of course access some of the some of these resources you can use for your own personal cases. So any questions? So we'll give 10 seconds for any questions. If not, then I'll wrap up with some few last queries and contributions, and then we can call it a day. All right. So no questions means that everything clearly is explained. And any questions that you have, of course, reach out to me on LinkedIn, Trust Onyekwere, or on Twitter. I am Teacher. I'm very open to answering questions and to write with collaborations on projects or ideas you have alongside any blockchain solutions, or any ideas you have that need some sort of assistance. I'm always willing to assist and help everybody. So in absence of any questions, I'd like to thank you once again so much for joining in this online event, a Codementor, and the recording will be up in about 2 weeks' time on YouTube, on the Codementor's YouTube, and I will share resources on the landing page, registration page for this particular event on Codementor as well. So thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Scott. And thank you, Rebecca. Have a wonderful day ahead. Bye-bye.